This is Joshua Hart here for Seconds Out. Delighted today, as always, to be joined by Gareth A Davies here over Zoom. Gareth, appreciate your time and how is everything?
All very good, thank you. How are you?
Very good, very good. Very happy to be here talking to you today. A lot to get into, so we'll dive straight into things. We'll cast our minds back to Saturday evening uh, at the Co-op Live in Manchester, where we saw what looks like the final fight of Derek Chisora's career in Britain. Um, and a dominant, shocking display in some fans' eyes. What did you think of Chisora's performance, first of all?
I thought it was a fine performance. I thought so nullified completely Otto Wallin. And as we know, kind of dominated him in the end. Two knockdowns in the ninth round and the 12th round. One of those which was almost like out of a comic book where he staggered backwards on his heels all the way across the ring. We lost balance, delayed reaction. Derek showed all the best qualities that he's shown late in his career: resilience, obduracy, tenacity, desire to win, ambition. And as I say, as a result, in spite of the very badly cut right eye, he just carried on, and he had that zombie-like quality that he's shown so many times in that extraordinary run of heavyweight fights he's had. Um, if I'm analysing it, it felt like the perfect moment to say goodbye as he was in there in the ring afterwards. 14, 15,000 people there singing War Chisora, coming into Hotel California. We got Sweet Caroline on the night. It was a decent card. It delivered. I was there for Talk Sports during the broadcast. It was a lot of fun. So we got to the end of it. He did everything fairy tale wise in terms of the script, and then he said he wanted a big stadium fight. And he pulled out those posters of Usyk, Dubois, and Joshua, and asked the crowd who they wanted most. I think it was Usyk, but I don't want him to go in with any of those people personally. I think that was the perfect way to bow out.
If he is going to have that 50th and final fight, which we believe he will, who would you like to see him face that night?
Probably a Dillian Whyte, depending on what happens between Dillian Whyte and Joe Joyce on April the 5th. Um, kind of talked and teased the idea of Francis Ngannou in Africa if he wants an Africa fight. Deontay Wilder's still out there, but I don't want to see him go in against a really big concussive puncher. And Anthony Joshua, Martin Bakole, Daniel Dubois. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it for his own health and for everything about him.
Frank Warren said post-fight in the press conference that these fights will catch up to Derek Chisora. Does that maybe give us as fans of the sport an indication that maybe, like you said, it would have been perfect just to call it a day on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think what happens is when guys feel the fame and the love and the affection that he does. I had a lot of fun with him up last week, mate. I don't know if you saw, but he's trying to shave my head off if he wins a world title. Plenty of memes out there of that afterwards. Right said Fred and all that. Yul Brynner and the rest. I got called out at the press conference by him for being on my phone. It wasn't my phone ringing. It was I just had his records up at the time on my phone, admiring what he's done. Really, you know, Joseph Parker twice, Dillian Whyte twice, Tyson Fury three times, Alexander Usyk, Kubrat Pulev twice, I think. All these great fights that he's had at heavyweight. Vitaly Klitschko 13 years ago, the night he fought David Haye in the press conference as well. Having been around all that and covered it all, it's very hard in the positions we're in where we're all making comments all the time, say this person should walk away, but you're kind of saying it to a friend. It's the analogy is if you know your friend or someone you like or someone you respect is going the wrong way for themselves. There's nothing wrong with saying it, but there's no one can tell Derek to retire apart from Derek. and he'll make that decision. And the problem is, it's not how it affects him now, but it's how it may affect him in 10 years' time or 20 years' time. But he loves the fame, he loves the money, he can deal with the pain. He's built for it. He's got better in his 30s. He's in late 30s. He's in better shape than he ever was. And in the throes, in the oxygen of delight that he will have felt, the elation that he will have felt with his performance on Saturday night, and it was a fine performance. He doesn't want to walk away. I don't think there's a fight out there, unless it was an Alexander Usyk that sells out Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But I don't give him a lot of chance against Alexander Usyk, and I don't really think that fight's going to happen, though, although I may be wrong. Who knows what's going to happen at the moment? But an undercard fight or a main event in Africa, yes. Personally, I'd like to see him walk away. He's probably got other ideas that if he can earn another 500,000, if he can earn another million, he's got a young family, he's got young daughters, and I think he's thinking about his family and he's sacrificing himself.
Moving away from that, you mentioned a Dillian Whyte trilogy for Derek if he is to get through Joe Joyce. Well, that fight is official now. After seeing the pair sat ringside at Derek's fight on Saturday, we saw the press conference on Monday. What do you make of the fight, first of all?
I like it. Both men are clearly up for it. They respect each other. You could see that at the press conference. Dillian's always fun. Again, he's very similar to Derek these days. Not as kind of zany and effusive as Derek. I can't remember the jibe now that he. Oh yeah. It's when Joe took a bit of time to respond, as he does. He said, "Oh, he's buffering. He's buffering." There was a bit of fun. I thought Dillian was also very good with Lawrence Okoli. As they sat next to each other. All these guys are going to fight. They know there's money on the table for them now. I really like the fight. It's a battle between, I think Dillian's 36 now, coming up 37. Joe's 40. I think he's 40 or 39, coming up 39, 40. Heavyweights are often good at this age. And these two, again, will go at it. Dillian's trying to peel away at Joe Joyce and say he's slow. And I think that's what he's indicating. I'm going to get my hands going. It's a good fight for both men. It's the right time for both. And maybe if Dillian wins that, then he's the perfect opponent for Derek Chisora.
You mentioned, obviously, Joe Joyce taking a bit of time to respond, to which Dillian replied that he's buffering. What did you make of Joe Joyce's behaviour at the press conference? Again, people always raising concerns about it whenever Joe Joyce is on stage.
He's always like that. He I remember years ago interviewing him. He walks backwards when you're interviewing him because he's so diffident. He's quite a shy guy. He's quite a shy man, and he doesn't realise he's like the size of a truck. And I think Joe always takes his time to think about things. He's not kind of he's sharp in his mentality, but he's not sharp in terms of coming back. So I thought it was regulation Joe. I don't have the same concerns in that way. Look, he can't go on forever. He's been knocked out badly a couple of times. We saw what Derek did against him in that last outing before Wallin. Joe probably hasn't got long and many fights left in him either. So a lot of these guys are coming to the end this era. Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Dillian Whyte, Derek Chisora, Joe Joyce. Zhili Zhang says he's going to carry on, but a lot of these guys are at the end of their careers now. And so they want to cash in, and I mean that sensibly, that they want to cash in on big fights. And I think these are two big names from British boxing. And the fact that it's got 4 heavyweight fights on the card, I think really sells it.
Do you feel this is a last chance type of fight for both men in this main event, indicating that the loser of the fight should retire?
Yeah, I mean, I think where the loser goes is a very difficult kind of route. But it depends how they lose. If they have a barnstorming, brilliant 12-round fight that entertains us, they might fight each other again. Or, as I say, Dillian Whyte, if he pips the victory on points, and they've kind of completely entertained us, and both have gone down and got up and come back again, then there'll be an appetite. The thing is with heavyweights, and at the moment with the heavyweight division, it's a division that's very fashionable, that's on fire, that there's money around. We know what's happened with the heavyweight division since the investiture of the interest in from the Saudi Arabians and Turki Alalshikh, that these guys have waited a long time for opportunities like this, and to have, like, I don't know, maybe the number 11 and 12 in the world, or 13th and 14th in the world, headlining an event, an all British night of heavyweight fights is brilliant. And I think I'm not going to say that it's a last chance saloon for both men, but other people can say that. But I think Dillian will have more than one more fight, and I think Joe will have more than one more fight.
Frank Warren.
Trying to get a headline out of me then, weren't you?
No, I actually wasn't looking to get a headline out of you there. No, I was not at all. But no, Frank Warren said in an interview with us on Monday that Tyson Fury's on the verge of a serious announcement. What do you think this announcement could be, first of all?
Oh, he could be going on a speaking tour. He could be doing stuff for big charities. He could be announcing that he will be back in the summer with Anthony Joshua. I know there's lots of plans in the offing. I can't reveal them. I'm going to let him reveal them. But I think it's public life stuff. It could be fights, but it could be those other things that I mentioned. Charity work, very high profile charity work or charity events. And I do know that he's going on a public speaking tour, which could involve a global thing as well, having spoken to his team in the last 4 or 5 days.
In an ideal world, though, we all hope it is announcing a big fight with Anthony Joshua in the summer, isn't it?
Yeah, I saw him at Derek Chisora at ringside on Saturday night when his name escapes me right now.
Would have been Walter Fury.
Walter Fury fought and looked good and enjoyed himself over 4 rounds. And Tyson was there with. Thank you for reminding me of the name. Yeah, well, I watched Walter live. I thought he was good, and I think it was nice to see Shane there with him, his brother, watching it. I think Tyson looked in fine fettle. It was nice to see Anthony Yard, by the way, sitting with Frank Warren as well. And that array of other guys that turned up on Monday for those press conferences to announce those fights. Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to probably slowly come back into public life. He didn't feel, he wasn't beaten up by Alexander Usyk. It was a very close technical bout that I thought Usyk won fair and square, but it was a close fight. So he's probably dealing with the frustrations of last year. Dealing with knowing that he's got enough money in the bank to last him forever as well. Dealing with, does he want to pull it out one more time and get into camp and pull out all his warrior spirit again for another fight? Does he want to be in the public eye and go round the houses with promoting and all of that again with Anthony Joshua in a massive fight? I think it's about him being ready for it. I don't think negotiations have begun yet in my understanding of it. So I don't think we're going to get a big fight announcement necessarily in a couple of weeks' time. I think it's going to take a bit more time to marinate in that sense. I think the fight will happen instinctually. I think we will get that fight. I mean, mainly because there's going to be so much money on the table for both men. I don't think they'll be able to ignore it, Josh.
Moving away from that, Canelo has signed with Turki Alalshikh, and also a similar time in news that Top Rank are leaving ESPN. What do you make of, I guess you could say, do you think boxing could soon become a bit of a monopoly, really?
Well, or you could look at it, I don't think it's necessarily going to be a monopoly. I think everyone's working together. I think there's nothing wrong with them being, most of them, on the same platform. I'd rather see them all cooperating than going against each other, because we're going to get champion against champion more often. We're going to get the best fights more often. We're going to get um, the we are getting it. You know, like you say, you mentioned there Canelo and Turki Alalshikh. They've done a 4-fight deal. Turki Alalshikh made some very adroit, very clever, very meticulous moves with Canelo to out the fight in May that was potentially going to take place with Jake Paul. And I'm pleased he's done that, because whatever you say, even though we'd have gone into that event saying, oh my God, how is Jake Paul going to manage against Canelo? Canelo would have played the game. That's the whole thing with Jake Paul. He wouldn't have gone in there and just battered him. You know, there's an exhibition style thing around it. So in some ways, Canelo would have had to nullify who he is in lots of ways, kind of hide away who he is. Because let's be honest, Canelo against Jake Paul is a complete mismatch. Canelo at 45 and Jake Paul at 35 is different. But now with Canelo still maybe a little over the hill, but not any way kind of spent in terms of how good he is. That fight doesn't work, and we don't want one of our pound for pound kings going in and acting boxing rather than boxing itself. So I'm pleased that Turki Alalshikh revealed all that. Obviously, it caused a lot of Twitter sphere and social media memes and activity and news breaking, and Jake Paul having go at Canelo and Canelo having go at Jake Paul, and Turki Alalshikh explaining how he completed the machinations around it all. I thought it was fascinating. Shows what a brilliant negotiator he is, what a diplomat he is, and how smart he is behind the scenes, and how transparent he is in lots of ways. And I think if we're going to get William Skull in May against Canelo, and obviously the Terence Crawford fight against Canelo in September, which really is a Sugar Ray Leonard's Marvin Hagler type meeting. It's a generational fight, and I think Crawford wins it on points from this distance. That's how I see it. And then we get Canelo in maybe with Hamza Shiraz next year if it works out, which I think is another brilliant big fight. And then maybe a Benavidez. I mean, there's people that would put Canelo in with Jai Opetaia, but he's too big. I mean, I think Benavidez is too big now, really. But that's the fight we'd love to see. But maybe they could make it at catch weight, 170 or something rather than 75. But I mean, it sounds mad, Jai Opetaia and Canelo, doesn't it? But someone even mentioned it to me. Canelo and Benavidez, Canelo and Hamza Shiraz, Canelo and Terence Crawford, Canelo and William Skull. If we got all four of those, it'd be amazing.
Kind of answered my next question, which is going to be about Turkey's sneaky moves in order to get this deal over the line. But you mentioned the transparency. How refreshing is it to have someone in boxing and such a playmaker in the sport that is transparent and open to all the public?
I think the transparency is brilliant. It's what we've needed in boxing. It's what we haven't had. It's the world's changing. If you look at the way, and I don't necessarily agree with all these things, I'm just talking about what's actually happening in the world. Power shifts, the decisions being made even in America at the moment by Donald Trump, to an Elon Musk. I mean, we're all watching that at the moment in the world. If you watch the world, you're watching these big moves. Like politics, in some ways, is being overtaken by business, and I think if you use that analogy, that's where Turki Alalshikh has been able to. He had this vision ages ago. I knew about this vision. I had meetings with them early on, and I was party to these things, and everything they wanted to do so far, they've succeeded in doing. They've got the money, the desire, the passion, the zeal, and the ambition to do all these things. And he carries all those things alongside the adroitness and shrewdness to be able to negotiate with people and the reach with people and a big team to be able to do it. And he wants everyone to cooperate. And really, for me, the last couple of bits in the jigsaw, who knows what's going to happen with Top Rank and ESPN? With Top Rank and where they're going to go. They're a big, formidable outfit that they're going to get taken by someone, whether that be Amazon Prime or Netflix or whoever it is. Bob Arum and his team are formidable. The only outsiders I see at the moment really are Al Heyman and his team and people like Gervonta Davis who aren't in on the mix. But there is so much business to be done, so much money that the Saudi Arabians can invest. It's a bit like you take Crawford and Canelo. It's a real big fight where they're obviously going to earn mega bucks for that, as much as the heavyweights are earning for the undisputed titles, I imagine. Big bucks, maybe 50 million each, something like that. And a part of the upside of the pay-per-view. But there's the opportunity with that fight to maybe go, if it's Vegas, to go to the Raiders Stadium and have 80,000 there for the first time to do a pay-per-view. I mean, the pay-per-view might do 2 million. So, and Turki Alalshikh has wanted to reduce the fees for pay-per-views to $20 or £20. They might not be able to do that for that one to make it economic sense. But I think people would pay $80 for that in the US. So, it needs to generate. If it's a financial success, obviously there'll be a massive drop in Vegas around it. If it's a financial success, then they're really succeeding in doing it, and I think they will. I think there's a tipping point. I think we can already see with Ring Magazine and what they're putting out news-wise and how they're breaking news that it's all from internal. How powerful that machine is going to be. So I just think that the workings look good and the transparency I agree with. And as an observer on the sport and a pundit and a writer, I find it fascinating. I think if you talk to older guys, they might say that the boxers aren't quite in the complete depth of the sport, aren't what they are. But I talked to Colin Hart, and he always says, you talk to Nat Fleischer, obviously who started the Ring magazine, and Jack Johnson was the greatest heavyweight ever. You talk to guys who were around the Joe Louis era, and they were the greatest. You talk to Colin, who's 90 soon, and it's always Muhammad Ali, and it'll never change, and Sugar Ray Leonard. You talk to us, we've watched modern greats, might be Terence Crawford, a Floyd Mayweather, and Pacquiao, a Fury, a Klitschko, or whoever, a Usyk. So we're all influenced by our own eras, but I think this is a really, really brilliant era, and we're not. Let's hopefully we can be on a steady rise rather than the massive peaks and troughs we always have. If all that makes sense, that's how I see it anyway.
Just my last few now. Without Turki Alalshikh, do you feel Frank Warren would be in as strong a position that he's in now? We've seen the control that he's got on this heavyweight division. Do you feel without that influence that Turkey's had, he wouldn't have this much control of the heavyweights?
Well, it's interesting because I spoke to Frank the other day up in Manchester at the Derek Chisora event, where he was trying to ring my phone, by the way, to make my phone ring when Derek was having a go at me in the press conference, which I thought was very funny because it wasn't ringing. And I said to Frank, we're in a halcyon period, and it was off record, and I think I can say this. And Frank said, there was a time when I had 9 world champions, and Frank's been up and down. I think the better equation is, what can Eddie do right now to up his game? What can Eddie Hearn do? I think Frank Warren's always built from the bottom up. If you go down through his stable, and I think Eddie's stable is strong all the way down as well at the moment. You look at, I think where it really shines for Frank Warren. I know he's got Nick Ball and Hamza Shiraz, and he'd said that to me himself if I just said this, but without mentioning those kind of guys. He's got the best heavyweight stable in the world, and formidably so. And obviously now with Delicious Ori as well, and with Richard Riakporhe, with Lawrence Okoli stepping up to heavyweight. We didn't mention that fight. That fight's going to happen, which is fun at heavyweight as well. Okoli and Riakporhe. I think when you've got a heavyweight stable like he has, with Tyson Fury obviously in abeyance, and you've got, Chisora and Moser Talma coming through, and you've got Daniel Dubois who might be challenging if he beats Parker, and you've got Parker and Zhang and Deals. With all these guys, you're going to be very formidable. Could he have done it without Turki Alalshikh? Yeah, of course he could have. But I think, he's in a very strong position because of the amount of work he's done with Turki Alalshikh and his son George has done, and Francis, his other son, managing them all as well. They do a fantastic job. They got skin in the game, and that skin goes very, very deep, Josh.
And just lastly from me, I think last time we spoke, Martin Bakoli and Ben Shalom had come out and said that the Anthony Joshua fight was signed for set to take place in the summer. Eddie Hearn has now come out and confirmed that talks haven't even started for this fight.
Well, I know. I spoke to him last week. Did I not tell you last week when we did our segment?
I think because we caught up pretty early last week, didn't we? I think we caught up Monday morning last week.
Oh, well, I chased Eddie myself. I chased Eddie, other members of Anthony Joshua's team, and because it didn't make sense to me. Obviously, the interview was done on the Talksport broadcast. I wasn't at that. I was at the backyard brawl bare knuckle in Cardiff on the Saturday night, and it sounded spurious to me. I spoke to Ben Shalom. He said he was only joking about that it was signed, sealed, and delivered at the time. But it's a strange thing to joke about. But clearly, it wasn't signed. They were just wishing it into existence. Yeah, we did talk about it because I think you said to me about wishing it into existence. Obviously, He's come out and confirmed. He's come out and confirmed it isn't happening. It's a possibility. It's a great prospect, but it's probably not the right fight for Anthony Joshua right now. I'm saying probably. I don't know what's in his mind. We all hope that we're going to get Anthony Joshua against Tyson Fury, and if he had a massive punch up with Martin Bakoli early in the summer, obviously Bakoli's slated to fight
FA
Jagba, and that's in May, isn't it? So
yes.
So it doesn't really align. Look, if Tyson Fury doesn't come back, then it's a possibility. But I just think they were trying to. Yeah, those were your words, to wish it into existence.
Well, Gareth, I think that's a good place to leave it. Thank you very much for your time as always. And
can I ask you one other thing?
Ask me a question.
How'd you see Jack Catterall and Arnold Barboza this weekend?
I think Jack Catterall points.
I agree with you. Jack Catterall points. And I'm really looking forward to Reece Bellotti and Michael Gomez Jr., especially after the fire that was lit under Reece Bellotti last time, because Michael Gomez Jr. pulled out late with an illness.
I think we all know the excitement that Reece Bellotti brings every time, though. I think whenever, as a British boxing fan, whenever you see a Reece Bellotti fight, you always have that little bit of excitement knowing this is going to be a good one.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's going to be a Mexican-style super featherweight war. British and Commonwealth, I think it is, super featherweight titles on the line. I think Reece has lost 5 of his, whatever it is, 23 or whatever, but he's always in exciting fights. And obviously when he's not doing that, he's an electrician on the Harry Potter series or James Bond movies or on set as an electrician. He's a fantastic character. But so is young Gomez as well. And obviously I covered his father's career. Michael Gomez Jr., who fought like a Mexican himself, used to come in to mariachi sounds and a big sombrero. I'm looking forward to the weekend. Be a great event.
Absolutely. Gareth, top man, and we'll speak again soon.
Lovely. Great to see you, Josh.
Yeah.